Yeah. Well, the idea is that, or the question is to be answered with the new tools of communication and information technology, such as laptops, such as the concept and the idea, the proposal of Nicola Negroponte with its $100 laptop in schools, to use them for learning to learn, as it is expressed by Simon Papert from MIT as well. And so the question is, what are we going to do? How are we going to formulate didactical material? The ones we know, and I'm thinking of my country, the school books are of the time of the printing inventing. The methods of teaching are as old as the Greeks. Our school systems, from the lower classes up to universities, have still the same way of transmitting knowledge. And the world of information technology allows quite a different way of transmitting that. So the idea, discussed with a number of people, is to try to involve the UNESCO. UNESCO is known for its educational, and its mission is to think and to organize education on the world scale. Is to, in the division of education, is to try to launch a research project or a discussion project or a fact-finding project to use the new technologies and, let's say, transform fundamentally the way of transmitting knowledge.
Okay, well, this is very interesting, Raoul. I appreciate your ideas, and Rolando. But a couple of points come up. One is the reasonableness of expecting an investment of $100 per person for a laptop. If you look at Nepal, where the family income is $50 a month or a year, is it worth it? Is it reasonable to come along and say, you need a $100 laptop per child? So whether that investment is a reasonable push, that's a concern of mine. Are we pushing technology where it doesn't really necessarily want to go? So is this a technology push? The other thing is the pull that's already there in terms of video games. And in my travels in both the South Pacific and Central America, I've found kids playing video games in the poorest of conditions. In fact, in Oaxaca, Mexico, I was in a taxi cab asking a driver about this, and the cab driver about it, and he said, yeah, children will go steal their parents' money in order to buy a PlayStation, even though they're in starvation level children. So there is a pull to video games, for example. And, are we, as we move forward, are we going to be passing out Grand Theft Auto to these kids as a learning experience, or is there something we can build on top of this? So I guess the question is, rather than dedicating it specifically to a $100 laptop, is there a way of talking about the communications layer, saying that we are communicating, we will be communicating? Are we going to communicate, penis extenders and Viagra ads, or are we going to do something that is socially beneficial and educational? So I think that, I guess I'd like to talk about a layered approach, saying there's a communications layer, now what do we do with educational and economic development and such? So what are your thoughts on that, Raoul?
So, hi, my name is Berger, Rolando, from Italy. I'm part of the Club of Rome think tank, and together with Professor Weiler, we're actually discussing the consequences that new technologies will have on education. And we are working together with the OLPC Foundation, which is actually spun off of the Media Lab, the MIT Media Lab in Boston, that is developing the $100 laptop. And the $100 laptop is, in our view, a disruptive technology that will have profound effects on the future of certainly learning, but not only. So what we are now working on is actually establishing a platform that will discuss this new kind of environment, this new learning 2.0, what we call it. That's how the term that we defined in a long discussion with Seymour Papert. Professor Papert is one of the foremost thinkers on education, computers learning. So our next steps will be to host a conference, a series of conferences actually. The first one will be in Nigeria, and it will be called Digital World 2006. And it will deal with the introduction of the laptop, the $100 laptop in Nigeria. But since we see this as a platform, we do not only talk about the $100 laptop, but there are similar technologies that are popping up like mushrooms. And so there's the need for a platform where these different technologies will be discussed in relation to education, the future of learning. And for that reason, we are now in the process of setting up a board of experts that will be chaired by Professor Seymour Papert and other foremost experts. To discuss this, we will set up an online platform, and other initiatives will follow.
Well, the cost question is indeed a very important one, and we have to wait to, in a certain extent, to have the conclusions of an experiment. However, worldwide, 80% of the people watch television. Also, in the most poor areas, the television is a device which is present. And the one thing. Second is that the statistics apparently show that watching television, at least in some parts of the world, where the internet is well introduced, watching television is retrograding, is decreasing. And what is increasing is contacting, playing, access to the internet. So if these trends are setting true, which I expect, and many others expect, by the way, then we have to focus on access to internet and opening the door for acquisition of information and knowledge. So the idea that Nicolas Negroponte brought in is that the $100 laptop is not a device to be bought, it's not on the market, but be distributed. The financing has to be found, that's right. However, there are other means and ways to have it financed without that parents or the environment of a child has to pay for.
As Raoul pointed out, in fact, there are a lot of countries. We did a case study for Brazil that spend alone on books approximately more than $20 per child per year. So if you sum that up for 5 years, that's more or less $100. So certainly the laptop can be a cost-wise investment, in effect. And there's another problem. For instance, in Africa, not even the teachers have books. And certainly putting books in Africa to all childs there is not a viable alternative. It's simply not sustainable. The laptop, on the contrary, can act as a virtual book that could hold many books. So it would be a good solution in that case.